Okay, you're live. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Good evening. Let's call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, May 13th. Our first agenda item is approval of the minutes from the April 15th meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the April 15th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting.
I will second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next agenda item is Board of Education return of funds to the general fund.
It's why we invited Chuck here to explain the Board of Ed's requesting that they'll be in a surplus position in this fiscal year. And they want to use about $727,000 of that surplus to go towards, I guess, phase one of the replacement of the HVAC rooftops at West Hill School. Chuck can elaborate, but I guess the School Facilities Committee as well as the Board of Education met, and both committees approved the transaction and requesting that the town council approve this deal on Monday night. So if you want to take over, Chuck.
Yeah, I think we sent over basically the resolution that the board made last night in this regard. So you have that information, but so I'll just basically recap, that information that was sent out. We are anticipating that we'll have a healthy surplus this year, primarily or because of the COVID situation. We put certain things in place because initially in the beginning of the year, we had a lot of expenses that we were incurring that we hadn't anticipated. So at that point in time, we knew, we anticipated it was going to be a tight year from a budget standpoint. But as the year progressed, we had a lot of savings. We put a hiring freeze in place. So if people took a leave of absence due to the COVID, or if people just left or whatever, we didn't replace them in a lot of cases. We had health insurance changes and enrollment changes for our employees, resulting in some savings. A lot of transportation savings due to, to be honest with you, shortage of bus drivers, the number of students riding buses. So we didn't have as many buses on the road as we typically would. We didn't have a lot of our sports going on. So stipends that we would typically pay coaches, the transportation related with our sporting events was a lot less. So supplies, there's a lot of areas that culminated into generating this type of surplus. And we were prudent about managing the funds. So we thought that a good way to go about it was to, be transparent, come to you guys and let you know that we are going to have this type of surplus. As you know, every budget year we submit our CIP. We have some healthy projects that are still on the books as far as roofs, HVAC at Stevens, and more currently the West Hill project. So we thought it was an opportunity to request that, make it known before the end of the fiscal year that this was going on, so that we could request these funds to be put towards the West Hill HVAC project, to help us get a jump on getting that project done over the summer months. So that's just a little bit of a recap and as to some of what our thoughts were, and why we had the resolution put forth last night and coming to you tonight, just to give you a brief update as to where we are.
Okay. Questions for Chuck?
So the notes, the total amount is about 900, and from that we'll be paying the 727, or the plan would be, if approved, to pay the 727 out of that 900, and the rest would be returned and put into the CIP. Is that the, I guess, the intention of this?
Yeah, I mean, John had mentioned that you guys had some needs on your end, so, you know, the difference, what is that, about 180 or 200,000 roughly?
Yeah.
You know, that would, the town council could do what they need to do on their end, for whatever needs you guys may have. But the 727, yes, would be, requested to go into the capital non-reoccurring account and put towards the, West Hill HVAC project.
And I see a potentially ominous phase one of the West Hill HVAC replacement project. How do we think that overall project looks?
Yeah, when we put it together, due to the size, we put it over a 2-year period. So this would be phase one. The other thing mentioned in the materials that we sent over that I didn't talk about was the rooftop units. The reason the project's going on is because they need replacement. They're probably 30 years old, and we are running into issues. So it's just at the point where some of those units are failing now. So rather, you know, if we could get the funds up front, then you know, we could start to address those needs, and rather than do a repair type thing, we could just make it part of the project and get a head start on that project.
And you know, just so we have like a 2-part project, I guess, or at least how it's sketched out. Any advantage or disadvantage to doing it all at once versus chunking? I mean, if cost wasn't a factor, of course. Any disadvantage to doing it over 2 phases beyond?
No, I just think I mean, by the nature of the project, I think it would be nice to get it all done in one summer if we could, but I just think the duration is too short. So you know, that combined with initial thoughts of the dollar value of the project, you know, that's how we phased it.
Thanks.
I think, Chuck, we did the phase in at Griswold School for the HVAC, didn't
Right.
we?
Yeah, and that
by
worked
wing
out
by
really
wing,
well. Yep.
And that seemed to go pretty good, getting the work done over 3 summers.
Yep.
Chuck, hi, good evening. Question, it may be too early to respond, but do you anticipate any funds from the American Rescue Plan or other state programs that can fund this, because it is HVAC, it is, you know, that type of project that might qualify where we would get reimbursement for some or all of this?
Yes, we do. We do have a grant that we've applied, the SR2. We did request some funds to be used towards an HVAC project. We put that application in. We haven't heard back yet as to, you know, what the status of that is. The American Rescue Funds, project funds, we are anticipating some funds. We don't have a lot of detail on, you know, what those funds can be used for, or what type of, I think that's going to be a multi-year grant as well that can be used over multiple years. So there's a lot of unknowns on that dollars, but we are anticipating that we will receive some dollars in American Rescue Funds.
So maybe even not just for phase one, maybe phase two, we'll be able to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we have some educational needs that we're going to have for those grants as well. But we do anticipate, or in our application on the SR2 grants, we did put in some requests to use for an HVAC project.
Great.
And Chuck, I'll just comment at what you presented. I mean, basically, you're looking at 25% of the cost of replacing would have been your repair cost, which may last, you know, 2-3 years. We just don't know. These units are 30 years old. So instead, we're going to go out, replace it for an additional 75%, but we may get another 30 years out of the units. So it's kind of a prudent plan to put this out, and, you know, better use of the money.
Yeah. And then, you know, the needs are there. It's just, you know, I look at it as we're fortunate to be in this situation so that we have some funds available to put to good use and actually hopefully accelerate some of the project costs that we have in our CIP. Because over time, those costs aren't going to decrease. They're going to increase.
Right. Excellent. And John, just procedurally, is this going to a new business item for Monday?
Yes.
Okay, so it'd be new
Yes,
business, not consent agenda.
all the items on here that are going to the town council is going to be under new business.
Okay, perfect.
Actually, just one follow-up question, and this may be more for Ron, but maybe Chuck. I mean, are there any challenges for getting the actual units and equipment and materials? Because we keep hearing about delays, and will it still be able to get done this summer, you feel?
Yeah, and that's why we're requesting, to have this move along now, because that's always the dilemma we're put in. A lot of times the funds aren't available to July 1. By the time you place the order, the summer's gone, and so your project gets delayed basically another year. Yeah, so definitely, but we are going to utilize I forget the technical term, but the fast track of getting that equipment in place. So hopefully it'll be here by when school's out, we could start the project, hit the ground running.
Okay, great.
If there's no further questions, entertain a motion to move this to the council budget for Monday.
I'd like to make a motion to move to approve to have this moved to the town council meeting on Monday. The resolution with regards to the Board of Education return of funds to the general fund and reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditures fund with regards to the West Hill School HVAC replacements.
I will second.
Okay. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. And bear with me, I lost my agenda here. Item number 3, award and bid, replacement of West Hill rooftop HVAC equipment.
Okay, I see Chuck's still staying with us. Yep, the board did go out to request these rooftop unit replacements through an RFP. I guess their RFP, Chuck, was based on 2 manufacturers, Dalkin and Tran. Received, I think, 3 bids back, and the lowest one is the one that's being recommended by, I believe you voted on this too last night, right, Chuck?
Yes.
The Board of Ed is recommending going with Tucker Mechanical, which is, there was a Daikin package for the equipment to replace the HVAC rooftops at West Hill School for $727,917.
Any questions?
I mean, I guess I'll just ask, a Daikin versus a Train, any difference?
To me, it's an air conditioner, but
I don't know.
No, I mean, actually, the Ron, our facilities director, is happy with the Daikin equipment. That's what we used on the GMS project as well, and that worked out fine.
Okay.
And then sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know if you're about to ask the same thing, but if you could maybe just talk about Tucker Mechanical. I mean, they came in, lower than some of the other ones, and some of the other ones might have looked like they bid the Daikin as well. So, what was the main decision point of going with them for this work?
Tucker, they're one of the largest mechanical contractors nationwide, actually, and it just happened to fit into their portfolio as to with other work they have going on, that they were pretty aggressive in on their bid with the project. It just fit into what their schedule is. It's a nice sized project to knock out in a short duration, keep some of their labor going.
Thanks.
if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to move this to the council agenda for Monday.
I'd like to make a motion to move to the town council meeting on Monday, a resolution with regards to the awarding of a bid to replace the West Hill School rooftop HVAC equipment to Tucker Mechanicals with regards to the Daikin package.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Chuck, you're welcome to stay on with us we're done with Board of Ed stuff, but we welcome you to stay if you'd like.
Okay, if I don't offend you, I'll probably bow out.
I thought you would. I was giving you that option.
Thank you. You guys
Thanks,
have
Chuck.
been, really great partners, and we appreciate it.
No,
It's
thank you for
nice to be
joining
able
us.
to have this relationship and, work together on getting things done.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Don't be, you're welcome anytime, Chuck.
All right, moving forward, the next item is the approval modification of the town council budget adoption.
As most people know, that the town charter requires the town to adopt a budget by May, by the third Monday in May. And if they don't, then the proposed budget would become the budget for the coming fiscal year. And this year, the governor, in his waning executive order powers, issued an executive order allowing those towns that have budgets that end or start July 1st to extend adopting their budget prior to the end of June 30th. The only thing necessary is you need a majority vote of the town council to do that. So basically, the resolution is approved by the town council, would give the town an approximately additional 6 weeks to adopt a budget. Not recommending taking the 6 weeks. The sooner we get the budget adopted, the mill rate established, then things can get going as far as getting the tax bills out and so on, so that we can start collecting revenue for fiscal 21-22. So it's long-winded than if I just read the resolution, but this will be on the town council's agenda on Monday night also. So,
And John, just to kind of, for anybody that's listening and not familiar, part of the reason we're discussing doing this is because the American Rescue Program has put additional funds out, but guidance on how to use those funds and how they could impact the current year's budget haven't been provided by the Treasury Department yet.
right.
So it's not that we're not prepared to move forward, it's that there's a lot of missing information that could have a significant budget impact if we move too soon.
Yep, correct.
Okay. So if there's any other questions on it?
Just logistically, so we have up to 6 weeks, but what does that look like? Do we need to, does that mean that we can approve and you mentioned we don't need to take the whole time. So is there a certain notification period we need to, in order to make the vote in the public on the budget, or do we have like a date circled in in pencil on the calendar that we think that might get moved back to? What does that look like procedurally from your standpoint, John?
I think as far as reviewing the budget, the council has reviewed all the town's budgets as well as the town CIP. Still waiting to meet with the Board of Education, which got postponed from the 4th, and as far as I know, it's still tentatively set for the 27th. And then as Alan mentioned, with that American Recovery Rescue Plan, hopefully next week some good guidance information will be provided so that some decisions can be made on what we can and can't use that money for. But I would recommend that we try to shoot for it being adopted no later than sometime the first week of June, if not earlier. Just from an operational standpoint, because we do need to start sending those bills out so we can start, continue operations in July and August.
And like for folks I guess like myself, my property taxes are wrapped up in my mortgage payment. For those kind of folks, I assume there's a window where they, I guess how does that work? They'll just roll over the existing rate and then do like a reconciliation later in the year?
Well, the town will eventually send the bills to the mortgage companies, and they'll pay it out of your escrow account.
Mhm.
I don't think they'll pay anything until they do get a bill from the town.
But it'll just sit in escrow. So that makes sense.
Plus you got to get the bills also out to the residents for the motor vehicle taxes, as well as those businesses with personal property tax, property that gets taxed also. But I don't think anyone's going to pay us until they get a bill from us.
Probably not.
So John, I see, I'm looking at the calendar. There's a June 7th town council meeting. Is that kind of what you're trying to target for at this point, if we have information?
I would hope that'd be the final date, if not earlier, depending on even if, well, of course, the week before is Memorial Day, so that's a 4-day week. So I think any time between the 1st and the 7th would be good, where the 7th would be the so-called drop dead date.
Okay, so if we're good with the understanding of what's happening, if someone like to make a motion, put this on the council agenda for Monday.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to move to Monday's town council meeting resolution of regards to the approval of modification of town of Rock Hill budget adoption, which essentially allows us to adopt our budget as late as June 30th, 2021.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Moving along to our monthly FEMA update. Mona, is that your favorite spreadsheet there?
One of my
favorite's
favorites.
the right word.
Yes. Well, it is, and I think I'll be quick with this one. So the COVID, as they say, the check is in the mail. Literally, they've closed off on that. It was a small amount, but they did finally close that COVID, the $5,000 amount. So we should be waiting for that. Probably actually come via wire. As far as the FEMA on the storm, I actually did a sign off earlier today on that. So I think we're getting close to the final decision on that. And at this point, the dollar amounts haven't varied. I think we're still at that $315,000 reimbursement rate. I know we had to send a few pictures of tree stumps. So as long as our tree stumps looked to the liking, I don't foresee anything changing at this point. So I think all is good on the FEMA forefront.
Okay. Any questions? Not seeing any. We'll move forward to the update reserve for capital non-reoccurring expenditures through April 30th.
Yeah, not much was really done out of this account in April. One item was the Parks Department used their field use improvement funds to do some leveling of the infields of the various baseball fields throughout town. That was about $11,000 to do that. I guess it's trying to make it even and as much as possible, the infields and so on. And then the other item that once we get our reimbursement from FEMA in, that will reimburse us for the grinding, is that we wanted to replace the shelter at the transfer station so that the shelter would have air conditioning in the summer months, and then perhaps have a heating unit for the fall and early spring months. So we made a deposit on a Carefree building unit, and I think we spent about the total cost would be about a little under $5,000 for that. So those are the only two items that we really spent any money on out of that non-reoccurring fund for April.
Any questions on the non-reoccurring?
The only question I had, you mentioned that we put a deposit down on that. Do we know what the balance is going to look like?
Well,
building?
the deposit was about $2,500. And when it does come in and gets installed, I think the total cost will be a little under $5,000, around 48,000 and change.
4,800?
4,800. Yeah, 4,800.
Get one off the ceiling.
There's too many zeros.
John was feeling generous.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move forward.
Everybody gets a Dicon air conditioner.
That's right. We'll have to get Chuck back on the call for that.
Yeah.
State aid to municipalities.
Okay. For the month of April, we did receive a couple of payments in our state aid. We received one of our payments for the Mashantucket Pequot money. We still are expecting one coming in June, and we did get our final ECS grant payment, so we are full receipt of all ECS money.
Okay. I think that's positive. Any
is.
questions on the state aid?
So do we think at this point for the Mashantucket grant, we're probably going to be getting below what our budgeted amount was saying?
Yes, it'll be another one of the well, it'll be the 171, so another 140. It should be actually exactly where we were going.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes 2 installments at the end.
Any other questions? All right, we'll jump to the monthly financial report.
Okay. First, we'll talk about the tax collector's report. And we are at 99.4% collection, exactly where we were last year at the end of April. And we are ahead in our motor vehicle supplemental, which is, overall a great place where we should be. As far as our benchmarks, we are a little bit behind. Although we're late in sending out because of the deferrals and so forth, and sending out our delinquents and our intent to liens, but they've just gone out. So hopefully we'll be picking up that difference and then the remainder that's expected for the year end. So optimistically, when these notices go out, we'll be able to collect for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
Okay. I'll keep going.
Might as well go to the expense side.
Okay. On expenditures, and we're in April, so we should be around the 83% mark, and we're still seeing the same areas coming under, which are the more the activities that were inactive because of COVID, such as the senior and the organized activities. Also, we have the Board of Education. Their number is through the end of March. Our contingency is on the high side, and just a note that we still have a few retirements that are coming through, so that actually could go in the negative, but we do have some other savings on other budget lines that will probably help us close out the year if we're cautious in our spending, which we intend to do as we close out the year. We did include in our packet this time was a 2-page document, which was Board of Ed, which I don't usually have, but we had mentioned before on the education, so I thought we'd include that just to show what that number is that we use for Board of Ed expenditures. Of course, Chuck left, so we can't have him address it, but it shows where they are through the months to date. And again, this is only through March, although this is an April report. And the number that we use would be on the second page. And although they do encumber salaries and so forth, we just usually reflect on your report what is actually expended. So that would be that 29,680,275. That was actually expended through March.
And Chuck was on the call earlier and basically told us they're projecting through year end to have a surplus in the neighborhood of 900,000. So we kind of have an idea where they're heading. which is
That's right.
in a good direction for us.
Right.
Any questions on the monthly financial report? No. No? Guess you did a good job on that, Mona. No questions.
Thank you.
Legal bills for the month.
And the last one, last schedule is the legal bills for through March, so on, and starting to see some pickup in the assessors' appeals cases because the courts are starting to reopen, and there, as well as the town did file a suit against Century Hills for some safety issues, including relating to building, fire marshal, and planning and zoning enforcement. So that's a small bill there, but that could be the only one that might be growing depending on how that case proceeds. So that's pretty much the legal story.
Johnny, in cases like that, does the town charge them fines, in which case we can use those to offset those legal fees, or?
Well, hopefully we can charge them the fines and hopefully get payments that would go onto the revenue side that would sort of offset these legal expenses.
Any light at the end of the tunnel with some of these that have been going on for a long time? Not that the bill's very high for coal. Oh, I guess between the two lines, yeah, the coals of the mannequins, Elm Hill. So the
mannequins one is that drawn out case on the depreciation of their store mannequins and so on. The other ones more relate to recent assessment, and Elm Hill and Elm Street, Elm Hill and Elm Street are two convalescent homes.
And do we think those are close to wrapping up anytime soon, or things are moving along more towards?
I don't know about soon because they got those labor issues going on right now. So maybe hopefully sometime after that's settled. Yes.
And I think they may have solved those labor issues late this afternoon, so or tentatively solved those labor issues. So
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
yeah, there won't be a strike coming up, I guess, as of this afternoon. So there is a plan in place, and whether it's final, I don't know, but it was on the news that they did reach a settlement.
Yeah, it sounded like they might have a plan in place that they're going to negotiate and hopefully settle it. But if they don't, the next date to strike is like June 7th.
Okay.
When the town adopts its budget, they're going to go out and strike.
We'll have to put that as a contingency. Huh?
Special day.
If there's no other questions on legal, anything for other?
I can't think of anything. Do you have anything, Mona, that?
No, I don't.
You told them about the auditors coming in last
Right.
meeting, so.
Yeah.
Right. On June 7th.
Everything,
Seriously, is.
It is.
witching, what's a triple witching hour?
And Mona, you mentioned before we started the call, you're starting to look at the revenue formulas for the ARP, and hopefully by next meeting, maybe we'll have more, even one of our budget workshops to figure
Yes,
out
and
what that
hopefully,
calculation.
Yeah, hopefully they'll give us more guidance as well.
And that's coming from the U.S. Treasury, correct? Is that who that
Right.
guidance is coming from at this point?
Right, that's right.
Okay.
But I'm sure OPM is going to have their fingers in it as well.
Right.
Because the Treasury is sending the money to the state, and that's the agency that's going to be sending stuff to us.
Right. And I know CCM has been doing emails as information comes available, but hopefully we'll get some interpretations quickly.
Yeah. Where's Waldo?
Yeah. I'll just say it's very unusual to have money available, but you don't know when it's coming or how to use it.
Yeah.
Be
Right.
happy to take the money in, but we got to figure
And-
that piece out. What
Then what
reporting
can you do with it?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of, and one of the ideas I've read is basically giving grants or loans to local businesses. But as a municipality, we don't have the staffing to handle something like that. So
Right.
I don't know what the ramifications are behind it.
No.
So it'll be a wait and see approach. If we have no other items, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, guess we'll see everybody Monday night.
Okay.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night, everyone.